Hi guys, welcome back to TechnoPow, and today I am going to be bringing you a wonderful Yuletide Carol-filled video of my 10 favourite Christmas movies of all time, since it is the season to be jolly. Now, originally I was going back and forth as to what to do for this video, and I jumped between doing a list of Christmas films and ranking all the films and videos I'd normally watch during the Christmas season. However, once I sat down to write this video, I decided it would be much better and a lot easier, quite frankly, to do a list of my 10 favourite Christmas movies of all time. Now, I want you all to be clear, I absolutely love Christmas. It's my favourite time of year, and so as a result, I had a ridiculously hard time choosing this list. So, if your favourite Christmas movies aren't on here, don't feel bad. This is my own personal list, filled with my own personal opinions. And also, this list is in no particular ranking order. They're just some awesome Christmas movies that I have listed and love with all my heart. So, without further ado, here we go. Number 10, Arthur Christmas. Arthur Christmas is such a heartwarming film to watch around the Christmas season. I absolutely adore this film. I love all the performances, especially from Hugh Laurie, James McAvoy and Bill Nye, who voices Steve, Arthur and Grand Santa respectively. This film brings me seasonal positivity, much like Arthur himself, and I especially enjoy watching Arthur's Christmas spirit flourish everywhere he goes. I also really enjoy the dynamic between Arthur, Grand Santa and Bryony. That's a trio I really had a ball watching, as their comedic timing and the interconnecting story was brilliant, especially that scene where Grand Santa and Bryony are waiting on the boat when they're waiting for Arthur to come back with the sleigh. That's just brilliant. I also love the struggle with Steve and his own father, who is of course Santa. It's an interesting take on the mythology of Christmas and Santa Claus, which is of course a mirror of the royal family lineage, in this film at least. The desperation for Steve to become Santa Claus and the military-style operation that Christmas has become really puts a fresh take on the story that I love seeing every December. But most importantly, I love the pure, heartwarming nature of the story. It's a film that really brings me joy and makes me feel really warm and cozy, and that you can always rely on Christmas to bring you joy. Number 9, Jingle All The Way. I remember watching this movie for the first time and almost dying. I most definitely pulled something when I watched it for the first time. And what I absolutely love about this film is just how simple and ridiculous it is. There's a dad who works too much and needs to impress his son to win back his affection. That's it. There's no need for any deep dramatic conflict or meaningful character moments. It's just fun, Christmas, chaos and madness that feels like it's ripped straight out of a retail worker's horror story. And I am a massive fan of slapstick comedy, so watching Howard completely annihilate everyone and everything in his path, all in pursuit of this Turbo Man toy, is brilliant. And oh my god, Phil Hartman as Ted, my family quotes him all the time, and I love it. It's hilarious. Ted was one of my favourite parts of this film, just because he's so obviously creepy, and seeing the wife weirded out by him and Howard losing it when he sees Ted putting up his star on his Christmas tree, that's pure comedy gold. I just love everything about this movie. It's so simple, it's so silly, and it's Christmas magic all the way through. There is so much more I'd love to talk about, but I feel I'd be here all day if I did that. Jingle All The Way is a Christmas classic, and if you haven't watched it, you're not celebrating Christmas properly. Number 8, Daddy's Home 2. I talked about Daddy's Home 2 very briefly in my 10 terrible movies that I love list, but I've never actually mentioned how good of a Christmas film it really is. This film was my introduction to the song Do They Know It's Christmas by Band-Aid, and I love the scene where all the characters join together to sing it. That scene, I will be honest, it gives me goosebumps. Mel Gibson is fantastic, and his dynamic with Mark Wahlberg's Dusty is brilliant. I love watching comedy and drama unfold in the spirit of Christmas because there's just something about it that makes me feel complete. Christmas connected to those themes is just a beautiful choice, and that's what this film does. The relationships between these characters and watching Kurt and Dusty get uncomfortable with Brad and Don is undeniably funny. In addition, the entire family getting upset over things such as having to pay $20,000 for accidentally cutting down the cell phone tower, Dylan not following Dusty's advice for women, and their entire bicker over revealed secrets on Christmas Eve are one of the many highlights in this film. Daddy's Home 2, I'd say, has become a Christmas classic, and I watch it religiously every year at least a couple of times. Go watch it if you haven't already, because it's not Christmas without it. Number 7, Violent Night. Having watched this film twice, once last year and once again last night, I have to say that Violent Night has become a staple of my Christmas season, and it is now a must-watch. I love watching new Christmas movies and enjoying them so much that you just have to add them to your holiday list, and Violent Night is one of those. I think the reason Violent Night works so well as a Christmas movie is that it doesn't shy away from the harsh realities that come with the holiday season sometimes. There is still a bit of darkness in the world, whether that be through taking advantage of the Christmas season to get what you want, or becoming all too consumed in the ever-growing greed of the world. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, Christmas will never go out of fashion no matter what happens. The core message of the film is beautiful. Trudy's interactions with Santa Claus really made me emotional. As someone who loves Christmas more than life itself, I teared up seeing Trudy's Christmas spirit and her want to believe in something. I empathised with her as well, and I feel like if she was real, we'd bond over our shared love of Home Alone. But of course, I have to talk about Santa. This is one of my favourite iterations of Santa, and I love how they handled him. I love his honesty surrounding his opinions on Christmas, and I loved watching him grow from this disillusioned drunk into a badass, savage Santa who you would not want to mess with. I especially also loved how the action was balanced with genuine moments of hope, redemption, and an exploration of each of these characters, even the villains. And obviously, the savage and brutal kills in this film take the cake. Watching Santa absolutely annihilate the hostage takers was ever so satisfying. Violent Night is brilliant. Number 6, Batman Returns. I know Batman Returns has become one of those alternative Christmas films that is very divisive over whether it is not a true Christmas film, but to be honest, I consider this a Christmas movie. Even if it isn't truly focusing on Christmas, I mean, the majority of the plot could very well have happened even if it wasn't Christmas. There's, at least to me, something about Batman and Christmas that just works very well. It's interesting to see the criminals of Gotham City run around during the holiday season, and watching the streets of Gotham come to life with Christmas decorations is a sight to behold. Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman needs absolutely no introduction. Her performance was excellent. This is one of the most unique interpretations of Catwoman, because unlike other, more modern versions, she embodies the eccentricity and theatricality of Batman's rogues while still retaining her anti-heroic qualities that make her such a brilliant character. The Penguin's character development with his backstory of his parents and his attempt to become Gotham's mayor while being taken advantage of by Max Schreck is also glorious. It's so well written and so well acted. And obviously, who doesn't love Michael Keaton as Batman? Even if Bruce isn't there all the time, just the presence of Keaton's Batman is epic. Again, I love watching a Batman-themed piece of media that takes place at Christmas, and I think it just amplifies the creativity by tenfold. It's the same reason I love Batman Arkham Origins. Batman Returns works so well as a Christmas movie because of the balanced aesthetic of Gotham City, Batman fighting his rogues, Tim Burton's classic style, and the backdrop of Christmas really allow me to enjoy this film as an all-consuming Christmas classic. Number 5, Home Alone and Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Now, due to my ever-growing plans for this list, I've had to include Home Alone and Home Alone 2, Lost in New York as one spot. But who's complaining? There's no denying that genuinely no holiday season is complete without watching these two classics. Everything about Home Alone is great. Kevin McAllister's psychopathic destruction of the Wet Bandits, Uncle Frank being a prick, and Kate's desperate attempts to get back to her son. Home Alone is a beautiful Christmas film. It's so well edited, it's so funny, and it's so original. I know a franchise has been developed from it, but to be honest, just stick with the first two. The first film is exemplary. Watching Kevin do literally whatever he wants now that he's home alone and have the time of his life is so entertaining. But what I also love is how despite all of that, he still has his moments of vulnerability. After all, Kevin is 8 years old and he's all alone, so he's not going to have fun forever. That scene in the church where he talks to Old Man Marley and gives him advice on what he should do regarding his son is really touching, and it really highlights what Christmas is all about: giving. And obviously, I love slapstick comedy, and watching the Wet Bandits get annihilated by Kevin's traps is the best part of Home Alone. I literally cannot explain how I love Home Alone. It's one of the most perfect Christmas movies ever, and one of the greatest films ever made. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, really took the cake. I loved it. In a world where sequels just seem to be getting worse, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York is a shining star for me. I love how Kevin is vastly more mature than he was in the first film. He's got access to much more resources than he did, which make his exploration of New York and his moments with the pigeon lady, as well as his family's attempts to find him, all the more entertaining. And the return of the Wet Bandits? Honestly, watching Harry and Marv become so desperate not to get upturned by Kevin again, only to fall into death itself, is brilliant. Tim Curry as well is fantastic, and the scene where Kevin uses angels with even filthier souls to trick the hotel staff is one of my favourite moments ever. And I love seeing all the Christmas decorations and spirit within New York. It reminds me of my love for Christmas and makes me feel warm and joyful and perfect. Absolutely brilliant films, and definitely a couple of my favourites. Number 4, Klaus. I fell in love with this movie the first time I watched it. I got so engrossed in Klaus, and I remember being really intrigued with this story and these characters. Klaus does contain a couple of Christmas traditions that are present within a lot of Christmas films. There's a grumpy, Scrooge-like character in the shape of Jesper Johansson, and the warm and joyful Klaus who helps him see the beauty in Christmas. Now, I will admit it's been a while since I watched this film, so I'll try and talk about it as best I can. I loved the alternate origin story it had for Santa Claus and Christmas in general. That scene where Jesper instantly thinks up the naughty list was genius, and I just loved the small details it had that helped expand the broader Christmas mythology. Klaus is a fun time, and it gets surprisingly deep at times. It's a Christmas miracle of a film, as they honestly don't come as good as this anymore. You should definitely give it a watch. It's brilliant, and I love it. Number 3, The Christmas Chronicles. This is my Christmas Eve film. In my house, we watch this film every Christmas Eve, with no exceptions. I absolutely love this movie. It's one of my top 3 favourite Christmas films, hence why I've placed it at number 3. I love how the film handles Teddy's grief over his father's death and why he's become less joyful than he was, and Kate's hope for her brother that he will eventually see past his grief and enjoy Christmas like he used to. Kate's Christmas spirit, much like Trudy in Violent Night, is also a really engaging aspect of this movie. The scene where she is caught by the elves and has to convince them to rescue Santa is brilliant, and the scene where they abuse the criminals who've kidnapped Teddy is also great. I love the siblings' relationship with Santa as well, and Santa himself is amazing. I loved his attitude and his design. He definitely gave off the vibe of being someone who'd been through some hardship, but tries to remain positive. He was also quite a powerful Santa as well. He had a lot of Christmas magic pulsating through him, and it felt like if he exploded, Christmas would literally just leak out of him. The film's Christmas spirit, its design, and the stakes it holds are also really enjoyable. There's a lot of heart in The Christmas Chronicles, and it's a feel-good movie that delivers on every level. Watch it on Christmas Eve as well. I'm not joking. There's literally nothing better. Number 2, The Santa Claus. The Santa Claus is sheer brilliance in oh so many ways. This is one of 2 of my favourite Christmas movies of all time. I absolutely love everything about this movie. I love watching Scott become confused as he transforms into Santa, and watching him in a way deteriorate, but also grow as a result. At times, it really felt like a superhero origin story. I also loved how the Santa Claus didn't portray Scott as a greedy businessman that other Christmas films usually do. Instead, he was just a humble father who was trying to get Charlie, his son, to hold on to belief in Christmas and magic, which is what I think all parents should do for their children. This film's exploration of belief and the take on the mythology of Christmas and Santa is also very entertaining, and Tim Allen's sarcasm towards Neil is also hilarious. It's just so rude and unnecessary, but to be honest, I have to relate to him, because we've all felt that pulsating rage towards someone who's snatched a romantic interest from us. Or is it just me? The Santa Claus makes me feel like Christmas. It was really entertaining, the characters are brilliant, and the creativity is shining all the way through. Even though the Santa Claus did spawn a franchise, the original is where the magic is. Scott Calvin is one of my favourite interpretations of Santa, and his story in this film, as well as his love of Charlie, is one of my favourite dynamics ever put to film. Number 1. Elf. Now, it may seem a little cliche, but I honestly don't care. For me, Elf is the Christmas movie. Whenever December 1st hits, I am always the first to my TV to pop this movie on. It's just perfect in literally every way possible, and not only is it my favourite Christmas movie of all time, but it's one of my favourite movies ever. The film is just a giant love letter to every Christmas nerd. It has it all: the story, the music, the aesthetics, the magic, and the meaningful character moments with the comedic balance. Will Ferrell as Buddy, I will be honest, he is pretty much me whenever it's Christmas. Buddy is the physical and emotional embodiment of what Christmas is all about. And I will be honest, his enthusiasm and his occasional moments of existential doubt made me cry. I genuinely cried during one of my first viewings of Elf. I also consider this movie to have the essential version of Santa Claus. Edward Asner is my favourite version of Santa, being up there with Tim Allen and David Harbour. The story of this movie about a long-lost son trying to find his way back to his father is honestly really heartwarming, and the holiday spirit in this film is just masterful. I love the performances from James Caan, Zooey Deschanel, and especially Will Ferrell. He's fabulous and fantastic and scene-stealing in every scene. I love the music choices for Elf. I love the location choice because New York at Christmas time is the single best location ever. The story flows, the idea is original, and the summoning of Christmas spirit at the end really ties the movie together as the essential Christmas movie. Elf is the movie that you absolutely have to watch during Christmas time. I certainly do, and I hope you all do too. It's my favourite Christmas movie ever, and it's also the ultimate Christmas classic. There you have it, guys, my 10 favourite Christmas movies of all time. Like I said, this list is my own personal opinion, and you are all entitled to your own lists. Let me know what your favourite Christmas movies are, and if I missed any you love, and do you agree with me? I really hope you guys enjoyed, and have a very Merry Christmas. I'll see you next time.